My sister is currently here. She is sleeping on my couch, and I'm waiting for her to wake up so that we can go out and do fun stuff. In the meantime, I have been thinking about what to do next because I am not that far away from my project. Kind of like, I mean, at least having like a really solid plan for it. What I decided to do next is read about recurrent excitation. So let's find some papers on recurrent excitation now. Okay, my question is, so the reason that I was gonna read another paper is that so now I understand. So basically recurrent excitation is gonna be impacting how the memory is. Oh, wait, okay. So if recurrent excitation is up, so if acetylcholine is up, it needs to be a rule like this. If acetylcholine is up, um, it's harder to it's harder to recall. But obviously, I want to make that really specific to how recurrent excitation works. So it needs to be like a thing of like the higher it is, like the less, like the more inhibited is like these things are, which I've learned is supposed to be somewhere in here. Like for example, like I don't know, this is just an example, but like somewhere in here it'll be like ACH times all this. So that's going to be impacting this. What I just want to understand myself, I'm just not wrapping my head around it yet, is like, how does that work exactly? What's happening? Might go back to those acetylcholine papers that Michael E. Haselmo wrote. I think we're going to read them again because I haven't read them in a while. And will help because I just forgot how recurrent meditation worked. But so these papers are pretty short, and I think that they'll help me again. Michael Selmo is a real one because this is so dumb, but like this this is the name that I've seen the most throughout my project. I have dubbed this man the Beyonce of acetylcholine because he he is like, even when I was mentioning it to my supervisor, like, and my supervisor is not an acetylcholine person. He does like sharp wave ripple type stuff. I don't know, but I was talking and he was like, he mentioned like Michael Ihasamo's name. So I was like, oh, you know him that specifically as well. Like he's the acetylcholine Beyonce. You get me? So yeah, I was like, that's why I was like, I don't know everybody in this paper's name off the top of my head, but I was like, I definitely know his name and he's definitely cited a lot in my paper. Because he's got like the details. He's got all the acetylcholine information. Somehow he's even cited twice in this paper. I mean, not cited. He's like author times two. So yeah, I think we're gonna read Michael E. Haselmo's work again, and we're just gonna see like what's the vibe. How does it work again? I kind of just forgot how recurrent excitation work. I'm not gonna lie, and I think that'll help me. I feel like one day I'm gonna be like the arousal Beyonce. Like that's gonna be like, you know how Michael E. Haselmo is like, he's like the Beyonce of acetylcholine. I feel like one day I'll be like the Beyonce of like arousal because I feel like a lot of the things that I'm interested in are gonna have to do with that. So yes, that'll be my Beyonce status within Verge. Hopefully one day that's like the goal. Good morning. It's my last week of classes. Today's actually my second to last day of classes. And I've decided not to go to class today. I don't know, maybe I'll like work it up and go to the second one, but I think I'm not gonna go to class today because I've been really, really tired. And this week I'm supposed to be practicing selfishness. I've been writing essays on my Substack about this experience, this whole like the end stretch of this project. And in my essay, I said this week I was supposed to practice selfishness. And I'm like, you know what? I really don't want to go to class today and I want to rest. It's been a lot of processing at the end of this thing. Like I think I just feel really mentally ready to process, and it's like it's been really busy. Like I had a paper worth 70% of my grade due 2 days ago, and I stayed up all night to do it. I got 3 hours of sleep. Then my sister was in town, so like I went straight to see her. We had a really fun day that we went to see Wes Anderson and everything. And then the next day, I feel like when I pull an all-nighter, it's always like the next day that I feel the effects. So the next day I was so exhausted all day. Like I was like, I can't even stand up. Like I just feel so tired. I got home and I was really tired. I had filled up this thing with hot water and I spilled it all over my hand and it hurt so bad, like boiling water. I burned my hand so bad. I don't know if you can tell. Do you see the burn? Anyways, so I was like, you know what? I think I might like I might need a little mental break just to sit and process my feelings too. 'Cause I haven't really processed my feelings enough, I think, through this project. I've been having dreams about this whole traumatic period like every other night, which I don't see as a bad thing, actually. I think dreams are a really good way to process. Yeah, I've been having like a lot of dreams about it, so I just feel really mentally ready to process all this, but it's like I have to finish the project. Never mind. What I'm gonna do this morning is I'm gonna read these papers and then I'm trying to get 10,000 steps in a day, and I've been really good about that. So I want to go get my 10,000 steps in, but first, like I want to read this so that when I go on my walk, it's like it's in my mind. You get me? Sometimes I read these papers again, and it's like the more I read like these acetylcholine papers again, I'm like, I can't believe I did this because yeah, this is dissociative amnesia. Like I don't know, the more confident I've gone back with like been with the information and I go back and read it, I'm like, how did I do this? I don't even know what it's like. I know it's accurate. That's the crazy thing. So yeah. Anyways, I feel this constant frustration as I go through this where it's like if I was like super duper like if I was like an expert, I could do it like even better, you know? Um which like hopefully one day I will be, but like sometimes I read stuff and I'm like it just feels like if I were to know more about this, like I could really like I don't know, like I it could be even better, but I just don't know enough. So it's like I'm stuck with like decreases excitatory feedback activity mediating retrieval. That sounds like it could be something. This is it right here. So in region CA3 of hippocampus, muscarinic receptors suppress excitatory transmission at recurrent connections in stratum radiatum. I don't think I said that right. So this is it. This is what I need to do. This is gonna get like a pin. Not a pin, but like this is where I think it is based on what ChatGPT said and everything. Suppress excitatory transmission at recurrent connections in stratum radiatum, whatever that is. Should we look up what that is? What is that? Okay, it doesn't matter. It's not like what's happening here. Okay. Suprapyramidal region in the CA3 to CA3 associated. Okay, it has no relevance to me right now. So there needs to be less excitation where these recurrent connections are. Where are the recurrent connections again? I know there's a line for that. Wait, let's see if we can figure it out before I ask ChatGPT. Where is it? The recurrent connections. I know there's like a specific line for that. I remember. And there's somewhere here, I think. Is it this? I don't think so. No, this is where they don't connect, right? I think this is like they don't connect to themselves, is like this line. But I might be wrong on that. I never looked up what MP fill diagonal was. Okay, I said it. So it's here, and they're used here. So okay, so we're back to the same line that was already explained. So this is where the recurrent activity happens. I haven't even like really invested time in like understanding this rule here. So okay, so the reason so they're okay, so they're saying that okay, so they're saying basically that this loop is recurrence because it's like it's like feeding the information back into the same network, and then that updated pattern is used in the next iteration, so it's like looping it. That's why it's like recurring. I don't know. So the two key pieces together. There's something like there's like a piece of understanding that I'm missing here. I want to understand like just straight up. I just want a better explanation of recurrent excitations. Okay, I want like the deep dive because none of my papers are like fully explaining this. I understand like what recurrent excitation does like practically, but I'm like I don't think that I understood the mechanism of it because none of my papers really that I read really went into like how that worked. A neuron activates another neuron. That neuron sends signals back to the original neuron and nearby. So the neurons are just sending information back and forth. Oh, that's the Hopfield network. Let's see the Hopfield network again. I need to remind myself that they're kind of like the same thing. I keep forgetting like a Hopfield network is basically like a model of recurrent excitation. That's why none of them connect to themselves and all of them connect to each other. So they're basically doing this thing where they're like beep 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 beep, and they're just like sending information back and forth. Why am I mentally stuck? Why can't I figure out like where does this go? Like I understand this. Neurons excite each other in a loop. Okay, and then that loop, that for loop, this is like the recurrence here. Because it's like the information is like getting looped back in here. I wish I could see it like a video. Do you get me? But not just any video. Like I want like a video of like, let's say you make a video of this and show me at each point in the loop. One day, I swear I'm gonna be like a professor or something. I'm gonna have the means to do it. I want an animation like that. And it's like it's the animation goes like this. It's like at each part of it has like the network. And then at each part of like the code, it's like showing like, okay, at this part of the code, you would be like seeing the memory. At this part of the code, you would be like, it's like it like the neurons are lighting up with the information. You get me? And then it's like it's showing what's happening at each point because I feel like that would make it so intuitive of like seeing the code in action, but like the neurons is what I want. And I don't know how to find that. I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm very lost. I don't know where it's supposed to go. I'm so confused. Why this matters intuitively. The looping excitation allows the hippocampus to complete memories because it's like if one bit excites one bit, it makes all the other bits come back together. How is this? I just want to see this so bad as like a 3D, like a 3D animation. You know what I'm saying? And it sucks because I'm like that would make this click so much. Stabilize activity. I'm just not understanding, like, it's so hard to understand how on earth that's happening here. Previous pattern. Let's see if I'm gonna try to draw a picture of it. I'm gonna show the picture that I draw, okay? I'm gonna take some time. Take some like a second to draw this. Okay, I just learned so much and none of it got saved. I've basically been drawing out like the whole process. And I made some like important connections for myself. So, first of all, this is upside down. I had multiple questions. I said, is a Hopfield network. So we have weights, and each of these neurons, like, oh my gosh, do I have to explain it all again? I didn't see it wasn't recording. Basically, what I've learned here is that what's important about these numbers being 1 or -1 is that basically they are like, yeah, they're neurons, but it's like almost like they're neurons, but just representing the relationship that they're going to have to other neurons. And like, that's it. That's the equivalence of like what they are in this. And then also, I learned that P pattern, like pattern T, means that like they're getting multiplied like this together, like one's like a column, and then it makes it into like a row. So it's like almost like going down the factory line, like the assembly line, and all of them are getting multiplied by each other. And then, so that's where the recurrence is happening, that they're all getting multiplied by each other. But except for this line down the middle where they would be multiplying by themselves is like that's like canceled out. That's a no. So that's where I was like, okay, where's the connections? Like they're here in like the fact that like the neurons themselves like are indicative of the connection that they'll have to other neurons. And so then I was like showing how like this is this is the weight that we learned, except ignore this because they wouldn't connect. This is the noisy pattern, and then they're going to get multiplied by each other, but I'm trying to figure out like how would that equal out to them getting the exact same as before. But I think I might take a break. I actually have been learning for a long time. It's just that none of that reported. So yeah, but we're on our way. I've just been sitting here unpacking everything. I even had one idea at first for what, like, how I could do the acetylcholine, but it was actually teaching me something, like, because I got something wrong of how I understood it. I was like, oh, what if you just make them flip so that they're always getting multiplied by the opposite of each other? But I was like, that's not right, because they would be, because if you multiply that one times the -1, it creates an inhibitory connection. And I was like, oh, that's kind of like acetylcholine is like inhibiting the excitation. But then I was like, I was like, no, that's not right, basically, because like that would corrupt the memory, and it's almost as if instead of suppressing the memory, you just learned a messed up version of the memory, which isn't what I'm going for, because that's not how it works. So I've just been sitting here like learning, and there's still more to learn, but I'm gonna take a break and go for a long walk and just mull this all over, because sometimes when I'm on my walk, like, it helps me think. Hello. It was my last day of classes today for master's program. Yay me, happiness, because the my master's program is done. I'm so relieved. I feel like I can like breathe again for the first time in a while, which makes me happy. I'm doing a lot of stuff right now. I'm writing an essay. I've been writing it for the last 2 days. I'll show a sneak peek. Maybe I'll finish it tonight. Maybe I'll finish it tomorrow. We'll see. I've been wanting to like take my time on it because it's like important content. So I don't want it to be lazy and I don't want it to be sloppy. Like I want it to be like well thought out. It's called Whiteness Wants to Eat You Too. Yeah. We'll see. I just want it to be well thought out. I don't want it to be bad if I'm gonna put that thought out into the world. So I've been writing that, and I'm like also been thinking about this project. And I've also been sitting here and listening to music for the last 2 hours. And honestly, like this project has been a great distraction from the fact that I feel like my soul got a lobotomy. Is that a thing, like a soul lobotomy? I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I gained so many new elements of myself that didn't even they weren't even in my mind. Like it was literally like a whole new person that I've become in this last few years and stuff, that like I can't even imagine not being this, and I feel like I was meant to be this person. But sometimes I'm like, bro, I just think back. I don't know, it's like there was something so missing. I don't know what it is, but it's like it just feels like if I don't think about it too much, I feel fine. But when I listen to music from like the past, I'm like, oh, something has just been really, really missing. And I just feel like my soul got a lobotomy. But I wanted to jump into my project for a second. Yeah, this is like the essay I'm working on. Whiteness Wants to Eat You Too. It's drafted. I just need to edit it up, but again, it's like it's a very sensitive thought, so I just want to put I want to really put like hard work into it. I don't want it to just be like a throwaway thing. I've read things for it and stuff, so yeah, but I'm also really excited to publish it because it's something that I've thought about for like a lot. I've reflected on a lot. I've done this is so random, but at least I'm getting good use out of my degree because I was actually a comparative literature and society student. So we spent all my classes were about like race, the Americas, and all this different stuff. And then I was like, bro, like what did I do for the last 4 years? Now I'm here doing neuroscience, like for what? And I was kind of annoyed because I actually love comparative literature as well. Comparative literature and societies is a funny degree. It's like everybody, what the qualifications necessary for that degree, you apply for it your sophomore year. You have to show fluency in 2 different languages. So for me, it was Portuguese and Spanish. For other people, like they had the craziest combos, like French and Japanese, or like, I don't know, French and Arabic, and like just crazy stuff. And then you also have to have some kind of theme that you're running with that you are interested in. And I started thinking I was going to talk about music in the Americas because I was obsessed with music. I still love music, but I was like, music was my everything back then. I listened to music 24/7. So that's what I thought I was going to talk about. And then I shifted because of my mental health, and then I started thinking a lot about that and psychology and stuff. I ended up writing my final thesis on dissociative disorders actually, but from like a comparative literature standpoint. And then I came here, but I was like, oh man, if I don't do something with it, that's such a waste because I actually loved comparative literature and I wouldn't be here if it weren't for the fact that like I was just like, you know what? I don't know. It's like, I don't even know. It's crazy that I'm here in the first place, but I was like, I was so bothered by the fact that like there wasn't an answer to my dissociative amnesia that I was like, okay, I guess this is what we're doing now. This is fine, I guess. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess I was just casually like, yeah, let's do this now. But I was a comparative literature student and I do miss it. It was a lot of reading, like it was like cultural stuff. You could there was like a lot of like leeway with it. You could do like we kind of designed our curriculums a tiny bit and then we had like a few classes that we did like everybody did or like you had to take a certain amount of comparative literature classes. So I took like Spanish, I took like stuff on the Americas like language in queer Brazil. I took like Lusophone cultures, Afro-Brazilian cultures. I took like race and decolonial dialogues in the Americas. Intro to Jacques Lacan, who I don't know if I said that right, psychoanalyst, who for some reason that was a comparative literature class. What else did I take? I took a really interesting one on life and death, and I don't know how I ended up talking. Oh, I think the reason I ended up talking about psychosis in it is that we read Franz Fanon's books on like he went was it like I'm forgetting now. It was like the Algerian Civil War. It's probably one of the most important books that I've. It's like no, it's like the War for Independence. Let's look it up. I don't know why I'm forgetting right now. He was so young when he died. I don't think I ever knew that. He was only like 35 or 40 or something. But anyways, the book we read a few of his books in different classes. I think it was The Wretched of the Earth that we read in his class and in this class on life and death or something like that. And I was mentally checked out a lot because of my mental health, but I did like the reading and I ended up talking about this text and it was about like he goes into he basically he's a super cool psychoanalyst and he talked about the effects, the psychological effects of this it was like a war for independence, I think. Am I wrong? Anyways, well, he talks about the impact of colonialization and how it impacted the like it traumatized and like impacted the psyche of both the colonizers and the colonized, and he goes into that. I want to reread it. I actually repurchased it to read again, but it really changed my life. Like I don't fully it's crazy because I was also really dissociated at that point, but I remember reading it and being like, "Whoa." It was like a revolution for me, and then I started to get more into psychology after that and I wanted to talk more about psychology and read more about psychology. And this was the same semester I was taking that Intro to Jacques Lacan class, and I was reading Freud's my paper that I had to get an extension on because I was very like my mental health was awful. Um, what was it? Totem and Taboo. This was the one that I read, and that ended up with me writing my undergraduate thesis as well. But I read this whole book that summer, and it was so interesting. Between the mental lives of savages and neurotics. Yeah, anyways, I was reading a lot of psychology stuff back then, but from a more comparative literature angle, which I actually miss. I'm not that into clinical psychology that much. I want to get more. I mean, I am to a certain degree, but like I really like the more theoretical stuff that I just need to go back and read more of that I find so incredibly interesting. And it was really fun reading it from a comparative literature standpoint because you're really contextualizing it within the realm of society. And I think that's kind of the coolest. Because I think sometimes psychology is too individualized, where psychology is very collective too. And yeah, I don't know. I think right now, like, I want to read more and I want to think more about like our collective psychology as well that we're witnessing at the moment. It's been pretty fascinating. The kind of psychopathy energy of our current world is crazy. I don't know how to put it, but yeah, it's been pretty insane. I mean, yeah, collective psychology is really interesting too. But why was I talking about this? I don't know. I truly have like 100% for. Oh, I was talking about my essay that I was writing. Yeah, I was like, I can't. I was like, I I gotta keep using my comparative literature skills because I actually like it. I've been doing some hard thinking about this mess as well. And like, I did a lot of learning that got cut short from like a few days ago. I learned like I learned abstractly how these weights and stuff actually work. Like, what do they it was like it was a more abstract kind of thought process and like learning more abstractly how this thing works because I was like, okay, I learned like, okay, the neurons are here, and then the neurons, they're all ones or negative ones, and all of them have to do like they're basically explaining how other things are gonna be like if they're gonna light up the other neurons or not. Because then it's like if it's a one and a one, they're like, okay, it's lit up. If it's a negative one and a negative one, somehow it's still lit up. If it's a if it's a negative one and a one, it's like an inhibitory connection. I think that's what I read, something like that. And so they don't light up. So there's this whole crazy mess going on. They're also getting summed up, and I don't fully understand that yet. Now, here's the thing that I did learn though, or like internalize. Oh, yeah, I learned everything. So it was all pretty crazy. And then what I'm not fully grasping. Okay, also, I know the acetylcholine, if it's gonna be impacting something, it's going to be impacting this. It doesn't make sense for it to impact noisy pattern. It's got to impact weights. So this has got to be impacted somehow. It's got to be inhibiting this. This is how it works in reality, like the recurrence stuff. Like it basically has to stop each of these things has to stop the like how do I put it? All of these neurons have to like communicate less to each other with each other, something like that, like because as like it's like they're conversing less, if that makes sense, and they're less strong on each other. I'm just struggling to understand how on earth to do that. I always figure this out, like this is my thing. I'm always like, what if I don't figure this out? And it's like I'm gonna figure it out, like it's gonna happen. It's just like it's taking me some time. Okay, let's think. By the time it's getting to weights, it's like it has to make all like make the neurons speak less to each other, like almost like quieter. How do I? Is that gonna be impacting like these numbers? This part is actually really hard. I'm not gonna lie to you. Again, this is something that somebody with an actual degree has who has been doing this for a long time would be like, "Oh, you just do this and this and that." But I'm like, I have never done this before. So for me, I'm just sitting here like it's a lot to like I have to like internalize, okay, how does the Hopfield network work? And like just like the mechanics of it all, it's like, okay, first that, and then to like add creatively on top how this is gonna work is like kind of a struggle. Again, ChatGPT already wrote something without my consent. It was like, you do it like this. It's probably right, but I just want to understand it myself. Um, I don't want to pop it in because it got it wrong last time. Like I actually asked it like, okay, write the line, and then I ran the code that it made, and literally nothing happened. There was no difference between one and the other. So I know that can't be right. It has to be doing something, you know? So I don't know, like, it just didn't get it really that right. So this is the thing that's really tricky is that there's a difference between like there's something that I might could accidentally do instead, which is that instead of actually being able to recall the memory, like instead of being like I can't remember it, it could just completely distort the memory. I don't know why my brain is like, huh? Okay, let's go back to like what does this mean again? So noisy pattern becomes either -1 or 1 depending on noisy pattern times weights in a matrix. Once I get this, it's like I'm flying past that point. Once that clicks for me, I'm really soaring and this project is gonna be done. You get me? So that's why it's like it's a big transition. Okay, let's remind ourselves. So right here, what's happening is that they're learning. Okay, so it's encoding, right? It's encoding. Now, when acetylcholine is up, it's like it's still encoding. It's not able to recall because it's still like the recurrent excitation is lower. So this is when it's trying to recall it. it's a in reality, it would be the equivalent of being like, wait, I'm not done learning yet. I'm not done learning yet. I'm still like encoding everything, so I can't pull the memory up. In essence, what should happen is that it should be still really close to this. So it should be closer to noisy pattern than it should be the weights. These are getting multiplied by each other. So something is going wrong here that makes it so that this isn't as much. What would it have to be multiplied by this to like be the same thing? It would have to be like kind of like multiplying it by 1, right? Let's make a new thing here. So for it to be like nothing happened at all, you'd have to multiply it by 1, right? Then it's like, okay, nothing happened. Everything is exactly the same, right? So as the recurrence is up, I mean, as the acetylcholine is up, it's gonna be like closer to 1 than to weights, if that makes sense. How do I implement that? Is that even close? You know what I would really like to see, and like maybe we can do this. I want to see what the heck. Go back. Okay. Let's run it, but without the last part. Like, can I just run it with like, let's see like what happens if we just do. Okay, this is just the part where it learns it. Let's see if it'll like print it. I don't know if it will because of this patterns thing. I have to get it to. Let's see what happens. Okay, wait, actually it already printed it anyways. This is what it looks like. So it's 0, 0, 2, negative 2, 0, 0, 0, 2, negative 2, 2, negative 4, 2, what, okay. So basically, in essence, like multiplying it in the way that it does by the other things, noisy patterns, somehow makes it similar enough. Like, let's try to run everything. Okay, so this is what you get originally. So the original pattern, the noisy pattern, somehow it goes from this to this. So for this noisy pattern, for it to be like the acetylcholine to be all the way at the top would mean that like it's basically just like exactly the same, if that makes sense. What if like, okay, let's run an imaginary one and then I'll fix it. If I replace weights with 1, like what happens? Just out of curiosity. So this is the original pattern, negative 1, negative 1, 1, negative 1, 1. So negative 1, negative 1, negative 1, negative 1, 1 is a noisy pattern. And it comes up with the same exact pattern as before. So, okay, so as we could imagine that was going to happen. I just wanted to see if that was like how the mechanics worked, like, because I know they like multiplied by like in like diagonals and stuff. So I was like, is that going to happen? Is that going to work? So is this doing anything? Am I getting anywhere with this? Or is this really off base? So if the ACH was all the way up, it would have to be a 1. But ACH is not usually going to be at up. Like, it'll be at, like, 0.8. And then also, like, what does that even mean for my... I don't know. There has to be a range. There's a range here. Okay, so range. If acetylcholine is, like, 100%, it's basically equivalent to multiplying it to 1. And then if acetylcholine is at, like, 0%, it's equivalent to multiplying it by weight. You get me? So it goes from weights to 1. This might be exactly what ChatGPT already said, and I might just be working hard for nothing. But at least I know that I know how to do it. You get me? So it goes from weights to 1. That's our acetylcholine range. How do I implement this at all? I don't know. Let's go back now with the pride that I have and the fact that I maybe figured one tiny element of this out and see what ChatGPT suggested. Because it might already be saying all this anyways. And it probably did, if we're being dead honest with ourselves. So I know like I'm actually doing this myself, but I'm pretty sure ChatGPT does something really adjacent. This is the range. We have 1 to weights. If it's like a 0 point, I don't know. If it's like a percentage, like, I don't know, 0.8, like 80%. It should be like 80% of this range. You get me? I'm scared. I'm scared. If ChatGPT said all this, guys, the AI, no, it didn't say it like that. One minus a, it's probably saying something smarter than me, if we're being honest. One minus ACH time weights. Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's actually sounds really spot on to what I was saying, but at least I know that I could figure that out, okay? Should we try it? This is a thing though, was last time I tried what it suggested, it wasn't even correct. So I was kind of pissed about that part. At least I did it myself first. That's what really matters. Let's try it out, if we're being honest. All right, so I made a solution. ChatGPT had pretty much made the exact same solution. Like, I didn't look. I was like, okay, I'm gonna figure it out myself. Went to see what ChatGPT had come up with. ChatGPT had come up with the same thing, but none of it worked. And I had to ask a different chat, like, what's wrong with my code? Why is it not working? And we got some answers, which include me learning some more different things. I'm feeling a little frazzled today. Like, I've had like a lot on my mind in terms of processing where I am in life. I had like lots of different changes. My master's program ended, like all this different stuff. So I've just been like, I don't know, I'm like processing a lot of different stuff right now. So I don't know. I have to figure everything else out. I've not been in the headspace to like, I'm like, I have to reorient my job. Everything's kind of like messy right now because it was like this long stretch of like finishing my paper was 70% my grade, then finishing masters, and then like it's just my house is messy, my mind feels messy. I feel like I can't really get to work. I don't know. So I'm gonna try to do a bit of my project right now because there's some stuff that's been brewing up in my head. Really hoping everything opens just as I was doing it because I actually started doing some different stuff. I learned some other terminology that was going to be important for my project. Okay, so it did. So like sparse coding. So basically the difference between, so this is our very basic one. And basically what's going on with this one is that it has like negative ones and ones and stuff, and they're all like everything is very densely coded. So every single neuron has some kind of either inhibits or it excites, I don't know. In sparse coding, it's more biologically realistic. So what happens is that it only like a few here and there are excited, and then the other ones they don't inhibit, they just don't do anything. So I did learning and read and like learn that that was more biologically, I don't know, I don't know how to put it, like more biologically realistic or in line with how brains work. So I switched to that. I also made it so it was 500 neurons instead of simply 25, or no, yeah, 5 times, is it 5 times 5? Yeah, instead of 25 neurons, oh no, 20 neurons, now it's, oh my gosh, 500. But there's a lot going on in these things. Like there's a lot of different things to like that like there's little things that I just haven't learned that like stop stuff from happening. Like it's not stop stuff from happening, it like changes how, like, oh, you can accidentally make it oscillate and do all this crazy stuff the more you put into it. And so I'm having some different issues. First of all, my acetylcholine thing didn't work at all. So I am going to have to remove it just entirely. So we're going to take this off. At first I was having an issue where, okay, let's take off the max iterations 5. So I upped the amount of iterations maximum, and then I'm not trusting this. ChatGPT wrote this. It didn't write everything for me. I basically took the one that was already written and then I edited some stuff, but it was like having issues. So let's play it now that I fixed, like just made it normal instead of with acetylcholine, and see how it works. See, the issue that I'm having with the sparse coding one is that what it does is it overexcites things and it makes everything into ones. These are all things that are very common, I think, if you actually learn computational neuroscience, and I would know why. Unfortunately, I'm an idiot and just decided to go into this with nothing but my own logic. So I have a lot to learn right now about why on earth this is happening. As you can see, it looks like none of the patterns. So somewhere along the way, and I think that I was actually looking at this and I was like, this is really like I was just like a little bit, I don't know, the weights are throwing me off. I think there's something wrong with them, and then I don't know. I don't know. There's like a lot to learn here. So my brain actually hurts looking at it. This has probably been one of the most complex parts of my whole project because so, like I actually have a lot of really serious stuff to learn. I have a meeting with my supervisor on Wednesday. He can help me through some of this stuff. Maybe I'm only meeting him for literally half an hour. So it's like I have to be like really tight. It's like he doesn't have time. So I just have to be really tight with like how I communicate with him. I haven't met him in like a month because he's been really busy. It's been the end of the school year, and then I only get half an hour to meet him on Wednesday. So you get me? It's like I don't want to leave too much up in the air because then who knows like how many times, I don't get to see him that much. So it's like if I'm gonna see him, like I gotta make it like good info and not like waste my own. It's not even about wasting his time, it's about wasting my time. Because I don't want to go on like I need to have like the information that I need to make the most impact on my project. So that's why I'm like, okay, I just wanted this to be done really bad. So this is back to normal now. I thought I understood. I didn't at all. So that's really fun. Then we're gonna go over here. We're gonna take the acetylcholine out again. That didn't work. Apparently it's like this is only scalar modulation of the something something. That's what ChatGPT said. Where I'm like, you literally wrote this yourself, but that's fine. So now it's just nothing. Nothing's going on here. It's just a normal field network again. But I did read some more. Uh, ChatGPT really annoyed me, so I took like a second, but then when I came back to it, it was I read the full reasoning as to why its own code wasn't working. I hate AI. I don't hate AI. I love AI. No, I don't love AI. You get what I'm saying. It's like I don't think it's like the worst evil or anything like that, but it's just really annoying. Like that's the reason I hate it, where it's like you're not evil, you're just really freaking annoying. And it's like, why would you give me a busted code if you knew that wasn't working? I was like, why isn't it doing anything? This is just a global scalar modulation of the weight matrix, bro. You wrote this. Oh my gosh. Anyways, this line was what pissed me off the most. Like when I read that, I was like, square up, come on, let's go. Like, bro, become a real person so I can beat you up right now. Your acetylcholine scaling does almost nothing mathematically. Then why did you write it like this? I was so annoyed. But anyways, but I understood what it said. So I started to learn what attractor basins are. That's probably what I'm gonna learn today. This is my learning goal for the next part. I don't fully understand this yet. I just started. But then see there's like into the nitty-gritty of computational neuroscience stuff. So you're using synchronous updates. This speeds collapse. So I remember reading that I should do asynchronous updates. Actually, I remember that. Let's just so now I have this sparse coding one, and I think it'll be good to test out like little stuff until I see that it's like just normal hot field network activity. So I think I might not go immediately into putting acetylcholine, but in just like messing with this one for now. So for example, let's try asynchronous updates first at one point. Um, Big hidden issue, NP sign 0 equals. I really want to pay for Claude Code. I need a message about this, but everything is just so freaking annoying, dude. Recently, it's like anyways, I'm not gonna go all into it, but I'm like, where's my student loan? I've had the most irritating financial issues this year where it's like everything should be fine, but there's always these random little like it actually feels like this right now feels like a reflection of like my own life actually, where it's like it's always like some little thing where it's like why. So it's just a lot of like little fixes. There's like you see change signal to noise ratio and like all this stuff. It's actually a lot of work, and I think Cloud Code is going to be helpful. I'm actually going to pay for it once my money comes in, but it's like ChatGPT free is like the worst at coding. It's not good. even pro isn't really TBH the best. So this is now we're really learning. Now like I'm truly in like I've switched all the way from learning normal neuroscience to now I'm learning computational neuroscience like straight up. What I'm probably going to do is I'm going to actually write myself on paper a list. I actually like thinking on paper a lot. Like it helps me feel more mentally organized. And so I'm going to write down a list of everything that went wrong. And I don't trust anything. After now, we don't trust anything ChatGPT says code related. We don't. I don't trust anything at all. Okay. All I'm trusting it on is literally the most simple and basic information that it can teach me about stuff like what are attractor basins. Okay. So it's not going to code anything for me at this point. Maybe simple stuff. It was able to, for example, I had it coding like this stuff where it just made like a random pattern and then made a noisy version. Okay, fine. Because I can actually look and see what's going on. But I'm not going to trust it creatively very much past this point. And I'm going to rely on me learning the basics and then seeing like where I can go from there. It really irks me because I'm like, if I just gone to school, this would probably be like the easiest thing. Like this is probably something very simple to do. I'm just learning from nothing. So that's why it's hard for me. You see, it's messing stuff up. It just sucks. And like, I never want to sound like, I don't know, like too big for my britches at all. But it sucks because I'm like, I feel like I actually, like, obviously I have such a strong draw to this and I feel like I have good potential in it. And it sucks to like not like I'm like okay I'm like all the way to the end and obviously I'm still going to keep learning it so it's still going to get done but I'm like what I wouldn't do to be in a classroom, you get me? And it really sucks because it's like my supervisor is obviously like thank you to him for even doing it but it's like we don't meet that much because I'm just a random master's student in a conversion psychology program so it's like what incentive do you have that much, you get me? And he's just a very busy person but I'm just like it sucks because I'm like, this is actually something like important. I literally have spent, this is actually now we're going over a year. This like 2 days ago was like my year-long anniversary of this. And I'm like, I obviously like, I learn it. So I pick it up so quick. I like it so much and like all this stuff. And I'm like, I obviously feel like this is going to be my career in the future. But it's like, it just sucks to be doing this so illegitimately. And it just like, it's really annoying. Cause I'm like, this is stuff that you probably learn in like, in a class and it's easy and it's stuff. And it's like I'm sitting here having these convoluted conversations with freaking ChatGPT about it, and it's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like it really irks me sometimes. I'm like, I could fly. I could probably make this in a heartbeat if I actually took a class on it, but it's just like I can't. So that's what's really annoying. And I just hate how schools are set up. I hate how the university system is set up where it's like, I don't freaking know. It's just like, it's so much proving that like, it's like obviously like you need to have a cutoff and stuff, but I feel like sometimes it cuts out people that could have really good potential in something because it's looking at like universities look at things from like a really surface level angle of like oh who can like you know what I mean where it's like do you have like the straight up stats where I'm like for example I went to an Ivy League school and I'm like there's people who are so smart and talented and go off to do amazing things and they don't get into the schools. It's like but then at the same time those schools are also full of super full of talented people and also full of mediocre people that aren't really that, you know what I mean? It's like oh great you have the stats or something where it's like yeah, but I have like the passion, I have a story, I have something this or that, right? And it's like, it sucks. And I think the universities are doing that more, but it's like, I literally like, do you know the level of passion that you have when you have a mental illness and something and you're just like, I just will do anything to like learn and to do something? Or it's like, I couldn't get into programs and it's like, I've literally done, this is probably something that like, to the extent that I've researched and learned, like find one person in an adjacent program to what I want that has this type of passion for what they're doing. Find one. You won't. And it's really freaking annoying. And I'm like, find one student in master's science in a neuroscience master's program and show them to me right now that has this type of insane passion to put hundreds of hours in for free on the side to literally find the freaking root cause of dissociative amnesia. Show me one. So that's what really irks me. And it's like, I could fly in a program. And it's like, I feel like I spent this year and I'm really happy I got my master's in psychology because I still want to do more psychology related things. But I'm like, every time I stepped into a class in neuroscience, and I didn't even really like, I feel like I skipped class a little bit this year and stuff. Because I had so much going on. And I'm like, every time I stepped into the class, I was like
crazy inspired. I literally came up with a whole theory for dissociative identity disorder in that time. I had one class on attention. I was writing stuff down. I was paying attention, no notes, no nothing. And I'm like, find one person in a neuroscience master's program right now that has this type of passion. There's not. I just feel like sometimes like the school systems are so annoying because it's like I just feel like they look for the wrong things all the time. Like they don't look for the right stuff in people, and it's like you could like show me personal passion. I think people look for like I don't even know what they look for, but it's like if you get like personal passion and that kind of like intense motivation and like that drive to do something new and to do something interesting, it's like it's important and it's good. And it's like I don't know. I was just like, I've just been kind of annoyed because I'm like, oh, what I could do like in a program. Like it really irks me sometimes to the degree that I would be sitting here like on my own time learning this from nothing and learning like really technical stuff like attractor basins and like, what else? Like dense like sparse coding and like all this stuff. And I'm like, I want to do this. Like my life depends on it. And it's like, ugh. I'm so irritated to do it all by myself because like it takes a lot of my work, like my time and my energy. It's like it's a lot of work. This took like so much work. I had to learn like 7 different new things. So I don't know. I'm just like I hope people like maybe I don't know like the message I wish I could send the world is like a lot of people look for the wrong things when they're looking for employees and when they're looking for students. Like they're looking for like these really obvious technical metrics and stuff where it's like I think there's so many deeper factors to look at. Like, I don't know. I talked about this in one of my videos, but I was like, where it's like you are the hidden factor in your life, but it's like, I don't know, personal motivation. Also resilience. I think resilience is something people don't look for enough. If I wasn't a resilient person, like there's no way I'd be here right now because a lot of people get irritated by the small things and they don't commit to like a a situation like this and they're like well it's not worth my time, I'm not gonna, you know what I mean, it's like that's beyond the scope of what's normal, so like I'm not gonna stick with it, I'll just do the status quo. And I'm like my mental resilience from being a survivor led to this because like I wouldn't it's taking me resilience to get through this project too from beginning to end. And like you can see like if you were to actually speak to me in like an interview or something and speak to me about my life, you would see the type of resilience I have, the kind of determination I had to make it through undergrad at a highly competitive university with a really serious mental illness that I was dealing with, right? And like there's different things like that I think you can see in people sometimes, and if you actually speak to them and you actually get a sense of like okay, what's their life like, and actually I think that those are better indicators of success than just straight up technical stuff sometimes. And it's like it doesn't really always shine through. I don't think people, I think people are trying to implement that more in college essays with like personal essays, but I don't think that it truly shines through sometimes in the way that universities kind of measure who gets in, and also jobs as well. Like, sometimes like you take a chance on someone who doesn't have the same type of experience or this, but like they just have that character quality that like is really going to make them really dedicated. Or even like, oh, I've have a big gap of time that I haven't had a job. So think how desperate I am to have a job and to do a good job at it versus someone who's just going up for the next thing. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I think that the things that seem like failures on the surface for like universities, for jobs, are actually the qualities to you that will make you do more. Because I'm like, I didn't have the degree. So why am I here? Why do you think that I would jump from like computational from comparative literature to something like neuroscience to like a trauma degree? It's like, why would I do that out of the blue, right? Why would I decide that I'm going to invest time and money into that, right? It's like obviously because I have a really deep and intense passion for it. And it's like I have a strong reason to be here, meaning that I'm going to stick with it through the tough times. Whereas sometimes people who are just getting their next degree are just getting their next degree and they just want a job, right? And it's like, it's like people don't always look for these kinds of qualities. And it's like, it really annoys me because I'm like, bro, I just want to do this so bad. And it's like the amount of effort that it's taking me mentally with like very, very limited assistance to do this. It's like a lot. So yeah, anyways. Think I'm gonna write down everything. I've just been feeling kind of frazzled because like there's a lot shifting in my life right now, and I'm like, oh my God, I have to reorganize my whole life. I actually think that like the key word that people should look for is value. How much value are you gonna put on your degree, and how much value is that person gonna put on their job? And like, I think that if something is very valuable to you, you're just going to go that extra mile for it, where it's like, it's not always valuable to the same degree to everybody. I mean, a degree is always valuable to everybody, but you know, for some people, it's like, I'm going to come in here and this is going to be like the value that this adds to my life. Like, when something's really valuable to you, like you want to add value back to it, where it's like, for me, having a mental illness and going into mental health, like the value of that for me is so high. And it's like, it's not, you know, I think that it doesn't always have the same value to like everybody that I speak to. Or it's like, for me, it's like the most valuable thing in my life. Like, I go out of my way every day for it. And it's like, you know, sometimes that's why I mean, I think it's nice that top universities now are doing more to get, for example, lower income people into their schools. I was a low income student. For me, like, the value that I place on myself being at that school was like insane. That's why I didn't even take a leave of absence. Like, I didn't want to leave school. I was like, I want to be here. Like, I worked hard to be here. And it's like, I don't think that it's funny. I don't think that it always has the same value to everybody, where it's like, if it has that value to you, like, you want to go above and beyond for it. And I think that's like a hidden factor that people sometimes miss when it comes to the application process just across the board. It's like, how valuable is this job going to be to you personally? You know, like, what is the value of it to you? Some people are just looking for a nice line on their CV, where it's like, for other people, I'm like, this is my everything. So anyways, the other thing I'm going to say for this project, just to like orient myself, is that I have this little like mental like philosophy where I'm like, things come into like, the less friction I create between me and the thing that I want, like the easier it is for it to slide in, if that makes sense. So I want to have a think about anything that I can do to reduce friction between me and this being done. All right, it looks like it's literally the same second, but I actually like, it's like a few hours later, so I want to try out some of the, like, I want to try simple stuff. So I'm making a list of things. So attractors and attractor basins, what are those? I need to switch. I know what synchronous and asynchronous updates are. So synchronous updates, it's like everything updates at once, and asynchronous updates, it'll update like one neuron at a time. So I feel like that's one easy thing to try out. Big hidden issue. I don't understand this one. I don't understand like the NP dot thing. I probably won't even use NP dot at the end of the day, but it's like it's the principle of the matter. Your ACH model is not actually inhibitory in a meaningful way. So if ACH is high, it suppresses recall. But right now you're doing weights times equals constant. So I'm not gonna like fix that. I'm just gonna like neuron, like all these things are things I need to understand. Neuron competition. Signal to noise ratio. I've seen that thrown around a lot, and I don't know what this is. Thresholding behavior. My stomach kind of hurts just looking at this list, but we're gonna just go one step at a time. And that's how I've gone through this whole project and learned a bit, like a lot. You know, at one point in time, I saw the name acetylcholine and I was like, what even is, I was like, there's no way. And now, like, you know, it's like you just go one step at a time. Stochasticity or inhibition. So the same pattern thing, that attractor basins, attractors. We also have a dominant attractor. What is a dominant attractor? Maybe like everything becomes that pattern. That's like what I would guess, but so others are too similar or noisy versions drift into it. Weight matrix bias. What is spurious minima? What even is that? They stop retrieving distinct memories and collapse into spurious minima. Capacity exceeded. Okay. So these are all things that I'm gonna start learning in a second. There's so many words. I remember all these words from other times where I was just like, what is this? Temperature stochastic update. Temperature. Why is there a temperature? Stochasticity? I don't know. Stochasticity? Threshold dampening? And why is that different than scaling weights? This is so much, actually. I'm like, this is a lot to learn. You see, I was like, there's no way I'm gonna be able to do this. And I was like, I'll probably have to like, I don't know, use my grant to like see if somebody would be willing to write the code for me. That wasn't able to happen. Now I'm literally having to learn all this mess. But that's fine because I'll come out of it like, smarter, which is good. I'm not gonna do any of this yet. Let's see just if we can add that asynchronous update thing and see what happens. Actually, I don't know. I don't know where to start even. I'm like, there's a lot going on here. This is my one with sparse coding. This is the one where we were having like it blew up with ones. There was like too much excitation somehow. I don't know if that's a good place to start to just add. I just want to see what happens when I add that when I add the asynchronous updating. I think that it would go here. This is definitely too simple for like the code as well, but I'm not gonna lie to you. I started this whole I feel like the further this project goes on, the less I have any sort of idea where on earth this entire mess is going. But I'm like, you gotta stick to like commit to the bit. I'm like, I'll just commit to the bit. I've gotten this far along. I have zero sense of where on earth this is going for my life right now. But yeah, because like, I don't know, this whole thing has been insane. Okay, I think that literally did nothing, which means that the problem is something else, but it's not bad that I did included that. I think. I don't know. Am I crazy or does it seem worse than before? All right. Well, obviously that wasn't the issue. I think the issue is this. Like, it's kind of hard to even read it because it's like, I don't know, it's like kind of crunched. Maybe there should be more zeros. I don't actually know, but it's not the important part right now. Let's learn attractors. We're gonna do like my standard method of learning all this mess. And basically we're just gonna make a study sheet. Okay, so I learned a lot of different things over the course of this project. I make a lot of study sheets. Like I'll show my study sheets. Here was like an early one that I didn't know like any of this terminology. I had to learn all this myself. It's like really basic stuff in hindsight, but it wasn't basic to me at the time. Neocortex, limbic system, action potentials and synapses, interneurons, PV plus interneurons, inhibitory neurons. See, I had to learn all this. Other things that I had to learn like myself. You can see here I was learning like how arousal and excitation work together. I learned everything about the trisynaptic circuit. Like I had to watch like this is all me watching YouTube videos. I learned like long-term depression, long-term potentiation, spike timing, dependent plasticity. You see all of this I learned on my own. I drew these pictures. I had to learn, this is when I was learning the cholinergic system. I had no idea what acetylcholine was. I learned acetylcholine. I actually should go back and remind myself this sometimes. Choline acetyltransferase. All this mobilization. I learned how acetylcholine worked. Didn't have textbooks, didn't have anything. I had YouTube and I had free resources online and I had ChatGPT and I had, yeah, that's pretty much, this is what I learned recently about different types of neural networks, about perceptrons and Hopfield networks. I didn't know anything about Hopfield networks. Still don't know, like, the details, obviously. Yeah. I learned like a lot. I have a lot of different study guides spread out everywhere from this year. So now we're going to make a new one on like the inner mechanisms, inner mechanics of a Hopfield network. So obviously our first thing is going to be attractors. I guess this is kind of like, so I'm learning that's kind of like a magnet that it like always kind of propels the system into like a certain pattern. No matter how it started, it's like over time it learns a state and then it like keeps pushing everything to that state, which makes a lot of sense. It's kind of like, I guess I'm wondering, maybe this isn't true. I'm wondering if that's why ChatGPT has like a certain way of speaking. Like if you don't necessarily tell it to like do certain this or that, it kind of has ChatGPT speak. I'm also wondering if that's partly why AI hallucinates, but I might be wrong. I don't know. Just initial thoughts. It says even simple neural networks can produce strikingly beautiful attractors, ranging from limit cycles to chaotic structures. That's probably like the intelligence forming, but I'm like, what makes an attractor beautiful? What is beautiful about an attractor? Is that like the stable thing? I'm thinking because like it over time it has to stabilize. I don't know if that's the same thing. These are just like my first thoughts, but I know that when I fixed this part, I wanted it to have, oh no, no, I didn't. I saw, okay, so when I was first playing around with this, I was like, maybe it needs more iterations. I was like, why is it not working? I was like, the iterations were at like 5. I was like, maybe they need to be higher. So I put it at 20 based on suggestions from ChatGPT, but that didn't do anything. But it said that over like it works, but it's like, but you should make a code so that it'll stop when it stabilizes. It doesn't always have to reach 20, like it can stabilize over time. So I'm wondering if that's like there's a connection between that, like stabilizing and attractors. Like it gets to a stable state. I might be wrong. Let's see. I want to know why is it different? Like what makes it a different situation when like we're gonna ask questions just like I'm gonna go taking notes and then I'm gonna ask questions that are like curious to me, like I'm curious about them, and we're gonna learn. When a neuron is connected to itself, it starts reinforcing its current state, making it harder to change. So the network becomes more stable, less responsive to input, and more likely to get stuck or converge to the same results. This adds inertia and momentum, makes it harder to change the state. The attractor basin becomes stickier. I'm starting to see patterns. I'm wondering if this is happening during the iterations. I'm assuming because at some point they reach a stable state. What makes a state stable? Like, how does it determine that? But is that also happening during the weights being made? I guess that basically once the information starts to feed back to itself, it creates like a stronger effect. There's another thing that we're gonna learn. So less sensitivity to noise. Smaller differences in input get ignored. So it's like it gets more rigid in its thinking over time. More chance of identical outputs. So everything converges to the same pattern more often. Early updates dominate. I don't want to save this to study again. I like it. Let's ask an interesting question. Is ChatGPT like I actually got a book on how ChatGPT works and I started reading it and I haven't gotten a chance to finish it, even though it's very short, but I was learning a lot from that book. It was actually written by what's that guy's name? I know he's famous. Yes, this guy who started this company. It was his book called What is ChatGPT Doing and Why Does It Work? Really good. Like it's short and it's well written, but I just started. So other question is I don't know if ChatGPT is even made the same at all. Is it a neural network? I don't know if that's like the right terminology. Is ChatGPT? ChatGPT has this like formula of how it responds to you. I'm wondering like is that something that it learned or was that built into it? I said, what kind of neural network is ChatGPT? I'm assuming it connects back to itself. If it even has those kinds of connections at all, it might not. How do you create attractors and how does that impact your output when you seem so flexible? I'm like interviewing ChatGPT now. Like all this time, our relationship has been so transactional. Now I'm like, I want to ask you. It's transformer architecture. So it acts very different. I thought it would. I was like, I'm sure it doesn't act anything like those with like neurons. I don't think it needs that. I read what I just wrote and continue from it. Auto regression, not recurrence. I remember reading about this, but like not, I didn't know it wasn't like in these terms. It doesn't have any attractors at all. I guess because they don't really have memory. I don't know. They do have something analogous. Implicit attractors. You know what's funny is that actually when I was reading about ChatGPT, I was like, whoa, this is actually really simple in a weird way. It's literally predicting I read this in the book. It's like predicting the next word based on the last word, but then it just makes better predictions over time with that. So it's kind of funny how it's like it's way more like small scale, but also bigger at the same time. High probability regions. But it can still move elsewhere. How does it know to do that? I guess this is where the hallucinations happen. Like maybe you can get the pattern wrong. It's like the most possible thing for the capital of France is usually Paris. So in most case scenarios, it would say Paris. Your prompt reshapes the landscape dynamically. Different prompts create different basins. Why ChatGPT doesn't collapse like your hot field nets. Your static weights, fixed energy landscapes, everything rolls to the same minimum. It's interesting, like I don't know why I'm laughing, but it's just interesting how different they are. Yeah, people see AI as like one thing and it's like it's so many vastly different things. It's crazy. Like there's so many different types of AI and they don't like they're not the same at all. Like this is so different from what I'm doing. It's crazy. Recomputes probability at every step. Hopfield memory retrieval versus conversions, large generation via probability. I remember temperature now. Oh my God, I totally remember temperature. I actually, like a few months ago, I got inspired and I was like imagining this little like program thing. And so that's why I was reading about ChatGPT at that point, and I totally dropped that because, well, it just hasn't been relevant. And I've also been like, I'm on the fence. I don't know. I'm like, I obviously like I'm interested in AI a lot because I'm doing it, but then I'm also like, I don't know. But I was working on, I was like, I had this like idea for something. That's also why I was reading about ChatGPT. And I remember reading about temperature. And so basically, temperature, it's like how, like the thing with temperature is that every once in a while, let's go back to like, where did oh yeah, my question was every once in a while with temperature, it can make a choice that isn't like the most obvious choice to keep things interesting because if not, it would always write the same essay. So it has like a temperature thing where it's like not always, like sometimes it'll choose something that's like a little bit less of like the next probable thing. Is that why hallucinations happen? I don't know. Maybe. No, that's probably not hallucination. That's probably something else. Why were we talking about temperature? What was wrong with the temperature in mine? I didn't even know it had that. There's so much going on here right now. Where's temperature? Here. Reduce update confidence. Temperature stochastic update. Okay, interesting. Well, we'll get back to that. Let's go Let's go back to learning. It's funny. I think my ADHD actually gives me like a weird boost up when it comes to learning when I'm not forced into like a rigid box of how I should be learning because school makes you like they're like if I were in school, it'd be like read this entire essay word by word the entire time beginning to end and like then you can do this and that then you can ask questions where I'm like I learned so much by going on these random little segues where I'm like okay, I learned something but then it's like I have like 18,000 different like connections being made where I'm like, okay, now we're reading how ChatGPT works. But reading how ChatGPT work gave me also like a lot of extra information as well about how like it gave me like a wider sense of how AI works and then it helped me reconnect to other things. So it's funny how we like school is very neurotypical like the way that you learn, but it's like giving myself full freedom actually helped me like I learned so much more, like a large amount of knowledge over a lot of time. And like I feel like the information I learned is more contextualized in a weird way because I'm like, I want to learn like everything about this one piece. And then we can go back, where it's like school doesn't usually encourage that. You have to like, okay, go step by step, read the full book, and then you can like, you know what I mean? So I think actually like it's been nice to have the freedom. Neural networks as dynamical systems. You know what I want to see next? How is like, I want to know how this is the simplest one that I have. This one, there's nothing special about this, nothing different, nothing new. This is exactly the same one that I found online. And what I want to know is like, I wish that what I want to see is how each iteration, like, how does it go down over time? And like, how is the attractor built? Where is it formed? Let's see if I can get that. You know what's funny is neurodivergent brains are actually so powerful. See, now we're having a whole another ADHD segue, but it sucks. Like that's the thing that sucks. Neurodivergent brains are so powerful, and I feel like the neurotypical world is not built for how ADHD like neurodivergent people operate. But it's like if you were to give neurodivergent people more space to like actually interact with the world the way that their brain requires, like we'd have such a different world. It's crazy. There's like people with autism, like autistic people, the way their brains are built, like it's not everybody, there's like a full range spectrum of everybody is like every kind of which way, but at the same time, like, people with autistic people are like super good, like categorizers and like super, they got like a lot of really smart people, obviously, we all know have autism. We don't get that same rep with ADHD just because also like our brains are organized chaos. So it's like even if we have the like massive potential, sometimes like it doesn't pan out the way that it should because it's like you obviously need the follow through and stuff, but I we all know that there's like autistic people can be like crazy smart at random stuff. And what's the word, what was I even saying? Like I just feel like even though it's harder for them in the world to navigate socially, like, well, every neurodivergent person struggles in the work world for like a multitude of different reasons, but also that's obviously like their brains are really well built for like really specific activities. And autistic people in history, like we didn't see autistic people represented, like, nobody had that diagnosis yet. But those kinds of people that are like, I created 7 encyclopedias on the bird types that I see in like the 1800s. And it's like, bro, that's so useful. Thank you for making that. Like, they were probably autistic, if we're being dead honest. Not all of them, but probably a lot of them were. Or people who got like crazy obsessed with like one thing. You know what I'm saying? It's like there's a lot of people, obviously, like that's a very powerful brain type when like given the freedom. And it's like I don't think that we often see ADHD represented that way. My thing is that like until somebody gives me some spiteful reason through which to like channel my ADHD brain through, you're not going to see the results. But once I have something that I'm like this needs to be done or something, like I'll lock in. I'll lock in like crazy because my brain is like it's very motivated by like rewards, obviously, and it's like and when I get a strong enough reward, like if there's strong enough motivation, I'm like unstoppable. But without that, I'm like I'm like a I don't know how to put it. Like obviously I love psychology a lot. I did really mid in my program this year. First of all, because I had a lot going on and I was into this, but also I'm like I went into class, I'm like, this is cool, but like I kind of want to be working on my project low key and like all this stuff. Like it was kind of like annoying. But also I think my brain just developed. I don't think my ADHD is actually that bad compared to a lot of other people's. Like I think my ADHD isn't really that bad. And then I don't know, my brain developed, I think. And I just got better at stuff. Like I used to be like, oh, I just didn't ever have like the motivation to get started on anything big, like a big project or anything. And I thought like I wasn't built for that. Then I learned I had ADHD and then I got older. And the closer I've gotten to 20 to like my brain being a little bit closer to like developed, even though I've heard that 25 isn't actually a real cutoff, like I've naturally been doing stuff like been more consistent and stuff like that. Doesn't mean my life is not still organized chaos. Um, my routine is different every day. Like I'm not one of those people with like I wake up and do the same thing every day. And if you push me out of my routine, I hate myself. Like I'll push myself out of my routine so quick, it's crazy. But I've learned to like navigate that with my own ways. So I'm disciplined in my own way. Like I'm disciplined. I feel like I'm disciplined in an ADHD way, if that makes sense. And obviously this is something I'm really passionate about and that really fuels me. So I feel like it's like unlocked more of my discipline and I've gotten more into my stuff. Like I've been writing consistently and stuff. And I've just found things that I'm passionate about. And I think I feel more empowered as I get older. So it's been easier for me. Doesn't mean my house isn't a mess right now or like, just stuff like that. But yeah, so I think it was also like adulthood. But I just think that neurodivergent brains are like, they have such massive potential to do so many things. Being able to like just randomly form so many connections and let my brain naturally make like my brain makes so many connections all the time and it goes on so many interesting segues and stuff and it's like I'm so inquisitive. I feel like that's very ADHD of me and it's like obviously that has been really useful in this context. And I was spited enough to like be like, okay, like I will stop at nothing And because I think because I had that motivation, like I saw myself differently, and because I saw myself differently, I changed my relationship to my other things. But yeah, I just think like we need to make more space for neurodivergence and let neurodivergent people do what they need to do. You get me? We're really good in like the right places with the right like format. Probably wouldn't have gotten through this project without these YouTube videos too, because actually like I'm not actually like speaking to anybody about this. Like I'm not like, I know nobody wants to hear about my random project. Like I'm not going to call up my parents and be like, "Guys, guess what? Today I learned about like attractors." Like nobody cares. So this is like my outlet space where I'm like, "Okay, I can talk about this." And nobody actually cares anyway still, but like it makes it fun for me because like I see my project building and it just like gives me that like motivation. You get me? But it's like nobody cares. So that's been kind of fun, but yeah, I'm like I've been surprised at my own consistency and my own everything and like how much I've been able to do. But I'm like I think that that's because I gave myself freedom and I had like the thought of this being published is so freaking rewarding to me. I'm like I need it. I want it. And it's like, I don't know. I've just changed a lot over the years. It also helped that my life felt like a mental prison because I'm like, I need to understand why this happened, and like nobody had that. And I'm like, genuinely, the place that put me mentally was so awful. I was like, I hate my life so bad. I was like, I just need to understand myself so bad. I can't heal without this answer. And I was like, it is between you feeling horribly emotionally broken for the rest of your life or you lock in. It's like, do you want to feel broken or do you want to lock in? You get me? It's like, I'm just gonna lock in, then that's fine. But we're gonna come back to this. I want to finish the attractor essay the article really quick. These are so random. Quasi-periodic attractors. The system follows trajectories that wind around a donut-like structure in the phase space. Unlike limit cycles, these trajectories never really repeat, but they remain bound to a specific region. Why is it a donut? What what purpose does this fill? So many questions as I go through. I'm like, what? And then there's the strange attractor, which is so funny. Why do you need that? Never repeats exactly, yet remains bound within a finite region of phase space. People must have the most interesting brains to come up with stuff like this. How do you think of stuff like this? These attractors exhibit sensitive dependence on initial conditions where a tiny difference will introduce a hallmark of chaos. Why do you need chaos? Let's ask that question. This is so bizarre. So instead for these types, instead of rolling into a valley and stopping, they orbit forever in a weird tangled shape. What? Pattern separation, creativity like behavior, and exploration. I want to know examples of these. Like, what? Also, wait, last thing, but I feel like people who are like ADHD kids, they need more one-on-one time. I personally think, and more like unstructured learning with a tiny bit of structure, because I'm like, do you see how I'm like, I just want to constantly ask questions all day about the most random and minute things where it's like, that's not acceptable in a school setting. But like my sister would, oh my gosh, my sister and I are such question askers. We're always asking a freaking question. And when my sister was younger, like we went to Bible school and the teacher dropped her off and was like, she asked so many questions. Like she was asking stuff like, who is God's mom? Bro, that's a good question. Who is God's mom? And it's like, we just were always asking a question. I think we get that from my dad too. My dad has also kind of got this kind of behavior always want to ask a question. I feel like that's why we need like smaller classrooms where I'm like, I want to ask one person 1,000 questions. I'm like, just give me all the information, but like in my way, you get me? That's why I'm enjoying using ChatGPT a bit. I'm not gonna lie. I'll probably use one of these at some point in time if it's doing like oscillations. It's not frozen, but it's not chaotic. Okay, this is pretty interesting that it's like it actually mimics these attractor types that I'm asking about. They mimic different brain types, kind of. So this is actually interesting to me. I'm super interested in the entorhinal cortex. Like I want to study everything about it. I was like, I need a textbook. I want to learn everything about the entorhinal cortex because I'm like, it it's so insane. Like I don't know, it's so crazy like what it does. Toroidal attractors, they mimic kind of like grid cells, for example, these donut ones, as well as things like
neuro oscillations. And then strange chaotic attractors are like the cerebral cortex. That's crazy that brain operates near chaos, edge of chaos, especially during things like decision making. How? Why? Olfactory system as well. That's like smell. This one makes sense because every smell is so fine-tuned. You probably like there's probably a lot to learn about sense. Like I know that smell is like very, what's the word? It's very important. It's like one of our most like a lot of memory is connected to smell. And then AI, recurrent neural networks, which I have heard of. It's interesting how brains just naturally do this. So my neural network is a fixed point attractor. All right, I actually learned a lot with just that. That gave me like good information that I'll probably use for other things too, like not just this project. So that's kind of nice. So that's attractors. Attractor basins are, I guess, when it starts to like optimize into one's or particular like position. They're like the valleys that were being discussed. Let's try to do this thing that I was asking for as well and see how this works. Like, let's see it in action. Okay, here we go. I'm a bit confused why it's only showing one line, actually, but like, not the whole matrix, just bits and pieces. I think it's coming down to something I don't understand, but it's like 1 is 0, -1, 1, 1, 1. 2, 0, -1, 0, -1, 1. So that's really different. 1, -1, 1, -1, 1. 1, -1, 1, -1. So at this point, it like learned it, and then it was just fine after that point, it seems. And then here is 1, 0, 1, -1, 1. 1, -1, 1, -1, 1. 1 negative. So this is what it was meant to learn is 1, -1, 1, -1, 1. So it's just going down the line until it converges at that. 1, -1, 1, -1, 1. 0, 1, 0, 1, -1, 1, 1, never 1, 1, -1, 1, 1, 1, -1. What was the noisy pattern? I'm a bit confused because it's exposing issues in my network, but this one worked. I mean, I got this one off the internet, but it works fine. It's not making any, like, there's no problems. I think it's confused, but I mean, it literally works completely fine. I think, but maybe that's causing an issue in like my later versions. I don't know. So this is the attractor here. This is the stable pattern. I want to ask, like, how does it know it's stable? Is it because the zeros are gone? But unfortunately, we're out of. Oh, okay, I can still ask questions. So we're back to energy. This is something that I meant to learn and I haven't yet because I read that it is how it works, but it's like it's innate insert to a certain degree. It's that like some systems have include it because that gives you information as well. So once the energy starts getting low, like every update lowers or keeps energy. Once the system starts getting low, then that means that like it's done. Yeah. Pretty much that's it. Yeah. I wanted to talk about one thing briefly. I really one day want to write a book on self-learning because I've learned so much about self-learning, like not a one-size-fits-all approach, but just like a general mentality towards self-learning that I'm like, I really want to share. And I've already started writing like lots of different pages, but I want to show like something because I think I'm going to stop here for now just because I'm getting very mentally drained. This was a lot. So before I moved to London, I actually at one point, this is like, it's crazy. Like, I look back and like, this seems like it came so out of the blue, but I actually like, I look back and I see all the different signs that like I was heading here, even back when I was like in undergrad. Okay. And what's funny is that I actually at one point decided I was going to teach myself neuroscience. I just had a really intense desire to learn it. I didn't know like what I was going to do, but I just really wanted to learn it. And this was like maybe 4 years ago now, like a little bit under. Look at this. So I actually made my own. I started to make like a mini intro class to neuroscience, and I was like, I want to learn it. And what I did was like I made like there's a trend going around right now called personal curriculum. This was way before the trend, but I was like, oh, I'm gonna make my own little class. And I set like goals for every day of like what I was supposed to do. And I put like little textbooks in it and stuff. And I stuck with it for like a minute. Like I wanted to go from like basics to like, like just basic stuff up and then up. Like I was learning like I was just going through a textbook and I was like, okay, what's this and what's that? But I very quickly gave up. Also, I was also really busy, but like you can see I started learning stuff and then I gave up after like a few days. And you see these are the things that make me think like, oh, this isn't possible. Like I have ADHD or like I'm not consistent and all this stuff. It's like there's no way you're gonna do it. But this is something I want to talk about in my little book one day, where it's like a lot of us go into self-learning things with the same mentality of like you have to do it the exact same way that you learn in school. And this is how you learn in school, isn't it? Like here's a textbook, read it, learn everything in order, and then like answer worksheet problems. And that didn't work for my brain. And I was like, I genuinely like, yeah, I do have ADHD. Doesn't mean that I can't do something massive. But when I went into it the next time around, like I by then I had done a lot of work, like a lot of work on myself and thinking about how my ADHD brain works and like my habits and stuff like that. Like I did a lot of thinking and I went into it with like such a different, like from such a different angle. Like I went into it with a project that I wanted to do. And I was just like, okay, I'm gonna start reading, I'm gonna do this, right? And like obviously I've stuck with it for a year. When this I could only stick with for literally 3 days. And then I was done. And the way like learning it like this was so boring. I was like, this is the most boring thing ever and all this stuff. And I was like, there's no way to self-learn like neuroscience and I have ADHD. You know what I'm saying? I had all these different perspectives. It's like now I'm literally over here learning about attractors and dynamical systems and all this different stuff. And like I've done this for a year. Literally almost every day I learn. But I didn't learn linearly. Like you see, I was learning like acetylcholine and stuff. And I learned in a very natural way, very organic, and just let my learning process guide me. And because of that, I stuck with it for literally so long that I'm genuinely like making like I have a whole entire experiment set up. I have like, 6,000 words written and of like original research and stuff. So it's like it's just interesting. Everybody learns differently, but I have like I don't know, I want to talk about like I guess the mentality change that I had and like how I was able to stick with it so long, even having ADHD, even not being in class, even doing it on my own. Like I think a lot of people give up on themselves and they think like they're just unfocused or undisciplined or whatever because they give up on this kind of thing really quick, or it's like, oh, I can't stick to my personal curriculum, I can't stick to like reading a textbook, where it's like maybe you're just not meant to do it like that, and that's okay. Not everybody needs to learn like school, and school isn't even set up for us to learn the best that we can. School is set up to like keep a bunch of kids in a classroom occupied all day and pass standardized tests. So yeah, anyways, this is getting pretty long and I'm just nervous that like my video isn't going to save and stuff, but this was a really good learning session. I feel really good about this. And what I'm probably going to do for the rest of the day is read. I have a neural network book that I bought, and it goes into like that whole like init and stuff like that I haven't really learned of like the best, the more typical like language for how to write my neural network. I might read that, and I also might look through it and see if it has more information on the stuff that I'm supposed to learn. But that attractors thing already was really good. Like neuron competition, signal to noise ratio, thresholding behavior, stochasticity. I don't know. There's a lot to learn, but I think some of it could be in the book. If not, I'll come back and do another like session. But I think this video is getting long. So yeah. Actually, while we're here, I started thinking, what if basically while acetylcholine is up, maybe it's as if the system can't stabilize because it's still learning, so like it can't stabilize the system. That's probably how it works in action. So like I'm imagining a version where like it keeps trying to stabilize but it can't stabilize. So actually at the end of the day it just ends up at the same noisy pattern. I was meditating. I started thinking of that. What if it just can't stabilize at all? What I could do is with my supervisor meeting, I could tell him like how I'm envisioning it, and then he can tell me if that's like, is that a good way to conceive of it. You know, I don't know if this is right, but I think like I'm probably getting closer in terms of like the how I should do it mechanistically. So I said for acetylcholine in a hot field network, would acetylcholine being up be equivalent to the system not being able to stabilize at all? Because in a biological setting, it would still be in learning mode. So my acetylcholine function could impact how much the system is able to stabilize with each iteration, where if it's at max capacity, it can't do so at all and it stays at noisy pattern. Let's see if it has like if it can correct me on that. Like, is that not right? What I'm trying to avoid in my system is that I don't want it to mess up the memory. I don't want it to remember a pattern that's like super far off or something because it's like it distorted the memory. I just wanted to not be able to remember or only to be able to remember like a little bit. Your Hopfield system is a fixed energy landscape where states fall into attractors. Acetylcholine does not remove attractors, but it can modify that's what I'm trying to say. Like that's my idea. At max acetylcholine, it can stabilize and stays noisy. Okay, it seems like there's a lot more to learn. I think sometimes ChatGPT like overthinks it a little bit. I'm sure it's probably right, but like I don't trust it to be right as much anymore. So what I think I'm gonna do is maybe just start like making notes. And I think this is what my supervisor meeting will be of like which of these like what do you think actually makes sense? Am I understanding this like the way that it should be? So, but I think like the core thing is that I think I'm getting more to like in my model, how do I actually implement that? Like I'm getting more to like the root. I hope by the time I finish my meeting with my supervisor on Wednesday, like I already have like I'm like, okay, this is how I'm gonna move forward. You get me? I'm not gonna go into this yet. I want to learn more stuff. It's acetylcholine no stability. But I think I'm on the right track, I think. All right, now that's really the end of this video because it's gonna be really long.